Welcome to the North Carolina Council for Social Studies Connections, a collective podcast for NC social studies teachers. Each episode features insightful interviews with experienced educators, curriculum specialists, and thought leaders who have dedicated their careers to enriching social studies education. Together, we'll explore best practices and tips for addressing the unique challenges that come with teaching the ever-evolving subject of social studies.
I'm thrilled to have you join with us today as we explore the fascinating world of social studies education throughout North Carolina. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Towne. Today we are joined by Chadwick Stokes. He is a history teacher at Frink Middle School. And Chadwick, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Glad to have you.
Well, I want to just kind of have you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into some really cool stuff. We're sitting in the middle of a classroom that is really cool, and hopefully you audience members will be able to check out some of the pictures that I will take from it. But Chadwick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm originally from Pitt County, specifically Winterville, and that's actually where I still live. And that's my home. My parents are from Pitt County as well, and my mother still lives in Winterville, so very close to her. I have an older brother that lives in Wilmington, and he's a doctor, and with his family, and so that's kind of like my close-knit family there. I went to ECU for both my degrees. Go Pirates, always.
Oh, Pirate fan, all right.
Absolutely. And graduated in undergrad with a degree in political science, and my master's is in history education. So I went through the MAT program with Dr. Alan Guidry.
Okay, so you got your Master's of Arts in Teaching, and that actually gave you the license to teach.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
So that's a great program. It's an intense program because it's a straight year.
Sure.
Where you're getting the graduate degree plus a teaching license.
Okay.
So I recommend it, but it's just know that's intense for that full year. And ECU has a great program with it, and real solid.
Excellent. And so after you got done with that, what did you plan on doing?
Well, I'll actually back up the story a little bit, if that's okay.
Sure.
Coming out of ECU, my story back when I was 23, some people's paths very linear. Mine was more kind of an up and down, sideway to sideway, not a straight path. I was 23, had no clue what I was going to do with my life, and but that's okay. I got into banking. My parents, my dad was a real estate appraiser. My mom was a teller with Wachovia, and so there was that business background that I was exposed to. So I went that direction. Did that for several years in different capacities, and realized eventually that wasn't for me. And so I began searching for something different. And I had taken a trip to Virginia and to actually see a race with a couple of buddies in Richmond. And on the way back to Newport News, where one of my buddies was living, we stopped at Williamsburg.
Okay.
And I hadn't been there since I was a kid, and it had been a while. And so walking down Duke of Gloucester Street, I felt like a brick hit me. It was like finding your long-lost love again. Okay. And I just fell in love with it all over again. I felt like I was a kid again. I felt like I was 10. And I'm like, this is it. This is what I was supposed to be doing, involved in some capacity. So I began researching more about teaching and, got into the MAT program. And then, as the pun says, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So history is something I've loved since I was a kid. I was very blessed to have a set of parents that took my brother and myself to Tryon Palace, to Fort Macon, the Battleship, Colonial Williamsburg. All those museums and historic sites are amazing at what they do, full of amazing people. And,
And so you came to Frink, but the passion that your parents kind of brought into you really wanted to bring those same, because unfortunately we have a lot of students that they haven't. I've got some students that haven't ever been to Raleigh before,
right?
And so we are blessed in that we have people that have been in our lives that have done that for us. So you want to do the same. So you came to Frink,
right?
And this is in Lenoir County, and so all of a sudden something just clicked for you, and you said, I'm going to do something. What was that something?
Well, that was building this lab. The building this gave me an opportunity to take something I was already doing and just really expand upon it.
Okay, so give us a little bit about this lab. And you say it is called the Frink History Lab.
Yes, sir.
And it's online. You can check it out on Facebook. And is there a website as well?
Just Facebook.
Just Facebook. Mm-hmm. Okay, so definitely check it out. What's the website link or the Facebook link?
So if you just type in EB Frink History Lab, it'll come up.
Okay.
You actually see a couple of pictures of former students showcasing some artwork they've done.
Okay. And so tell us about this lab and what was the vision, the precursor to this?
Sure. Well, I've always felt like history should be taught in an interactive way. To me, it's the most interactive subject. And that's, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that's what got my attention. When you go to Colonial Williamsburg, you see a blacksmith making things. What 10-year-old wouldn't be interested to know more? And that's what I've tried to do here, because you have to bring artifacts in.
Right.
Whether they're replicas or original, doesn't matter. And you got to do primary source analysis, for example, with those artifacts, to be able to tell those stories and bring that history to life. So that's one thing. And you've also got to be able to do activities of the past. Even something as simple as taking a feather quill and black ink and having them write out their names in cursive.
Okay.
Something as simple as that. That's just the beginning of what is possible.
So you have your own classroom, and then periodically throughout the year, you bring them down, whether special events or...
Absolutely. So whether we're doing something special activities, some certain special projects, you have to. This is a chance to immerse them into history. And what I'm after is flipping the script, changing the game, and getting students, the general public, and fellow educators to realize that you have a unique opportunity to really showcase just how interactive history is. They need to be immersed. They need to do history. We have several tables here in the lab, and almost every table, is covered with documentation about different time periods. Like when we're sitting at, all the documents are from World War II. And so they see those. You can do primary source analysis. They can hold them. We're going to do gem mining here in the spring. But you have to get them feeling like not just in a museum, but they're also doing things.
I love that term, immersed. And so many of us, we've got a huge classroom that we have a lot of kids, or a small classroom with a lot of kids. And so you're finding that your immersion is it working with your kids? Do you feel that they're learning what you want them to learn?
Absolutely. I think when you get them opportunities to do things with their hands, to create things, like I've got a couple classes making Boston Tea Party boxes.
Okay.
They're making those, and then the endless possibilities. I haven't told them this yet. This is a new idea, but we're going to be doing this this fall. Well, they have to learn about how, when you talk about the colonial exchange, the first Europeans coming over, well, one of the things that was brought over was smallpox.
Okay.
And they have
You're
to
not going to bring smallpox.
No,
back.
No. We're not bringing smallpox. Right. Not a real thing. But you can use something like blacklight and day glow.
Tell us about
that.
What does that mean?
So we're going to, and I've talked to some parents, we're going to black out all the windows, turn off the light, make it as dark in here as we can. And the kids are actually going to have a day glow or something like that on their hands. And they're going to see how much they touch. And it's all going to be lit up.
Spread.
Exactly.
Oh,
see the
beautiful.
spread. And that activity will help illustrate for them what happened to the natives.
Now, I'm going to say probably we need to be careful of the spread if we go throughout the school.
Sure.
But I saw you the other day dress up as the Black Death Doctor.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I think as a teacher, hopefully, I'm sure a lot of us realize you're part entertainer.
Sure.
You're hanging out with teenagers at this age. You're hanging out with children. You've got to figure out what's going to get their attention and which is therefore going to get them curious. And I don't mind, doing things out of the box, doing things that's you might be a little embarrassing to me or whatever. But the other day, I try to do this every year, but dress up as a Black Death Doctor.
Okay.
And it's a simple costume. The gown that I was wearing is my graduation gown from a master's program. It's all black. And then you have the mask, you have the hat. And that, that morning, they didn't tell me what was coming. Well, that morning, I turned off the lights in the hallway as they're coming in from breakfast. So there's a little scary element to it, but that's exactly what I wanted.
Right.
You get them asking questions. You get them, which is what every teacher wants. You get them curious, and then the learning takes care of itself.
So, the idea is getting them, again, immersed. And so you've got an upcoming project that dealing with maybe the Halloween theme.
Yeah.
Tell us about this new project you have coming up.
So in early American history, one of the things they learned about is the Salem witch trials.
Okay.
And which has always been a very fascinating story. And so I've been trying for the longest time, what can I do? I thought about role-playing cards, which are a good idea. I've seen museums do this. I was like, no, I want to go a little bit further. And I'm like, wait a second, we'll just turn this space into a haunted house. A traditional haunted house, yeah.
Okay.
And so it's going to be 4 scenes, and I'm actually getting some of the kids and some of the parents involved in this. And so I really feel like education is collaborative. And when you're able to pull in parents to help, that can make a big difference. That shows, because I've had parents tell me they've learned different things themselves. Right. And to me, education, we're not just educating our kids or educating the parents. But anyway, so it's going to be 4 scenes is what I'm kind of envisioning. First time I've done this, but we're thinking like a traditional walkthrough with plastic tablecloths that'll be kind of strung up as like dividers, so you can't see the story as you're going along.
Okay.
So you want to have a little bit of surprise factor. But that'll tell the story of the Salem witch trials. And we're going a little bit further with it, is I've got a group that's working on a script.
Okay.
And that script is they're going to act out what happened at Salem. And they're going to record it as a video.
Okay.
And so they're going to be dressed. They're going to do that on their own. I tried to get them to present in front of the class, but they didn't want to do that.
Right.
So I figured we'd record a video, and they were going to put that out there. But to me, when you get them to demonstrate their learning with something like that, that is taking it to another level.
Right. And do you find that those students, especially those ones that really kind of get it and they want to, you kind of pour into them a little bit more? Do you find that they respond better to, I mean, everybody has maybe a math or an English or biology.
Sure.
There, but we have those that really love that history.
Absolutely.
And then it sounds like you are also involved in the National History Day.
Yes.
And so does that tie into some
Oh,
of the
gosh,
stuff?
yes. I mean, I there's Science Olympiad, there's Science Fair, there's also National History Day.
Right.
We have our own competition, and National History Day, Karen Ipock, she's the North Carolina coordinator for that. Fantastic person. She's wonderful to work with, and that program, I wish every school would make a commitment to it, because it benefits every subject.
Sure.
Every subject. The skills that the students work on is transferable to every subject, because in it, from a history perspective, they are required in that project to do what historians do.
Right.
And so I allow all the 8th graders do it, and they pick a historic topic. I give them complete freedom. American history or world history doesn't matter. But I tell them, first of all, it needs to be interesting.
Right.
What that topic is. It needs to interest you. And then it needs to be, you've got to be able to explain, as part of the contest, how it connects to this year's theme. And this year's theme is turning points in history.
Okay.
And you got to give them some examples. 2 examples I can, off the top of my head, that I've talked to them about. One is 9/11.
Sure.
And the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Sure. Turning points.
And Salem, too. But I start with
call them watershed moments.
Yes, watershed moments, exactly. Mm-hmm. And they have to research. They have to create a category, which is this exhibit website. So it gives them that choice, and they've got to write a process paper about how they did it, and then they go and compete.
Right.
And we have our school competition in February, and then they go. We take our winners to the regional competition at ECU.
And I think you guys did that last year,
Yep,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. And that gives them a chance to see a college campus.
Sure.
A 4-year school, to be exposed to that environment, because you just don't know, and you know this as a teacher, what light bulb moment is going to happen. They see this, so they're like, wow. And that's what you want.
Right.
Because that can be that lifelong moment that I get goosebumps just thinking about it. But in the regional competition, the winners there, or the ones that place in the top 3, go on to the state competition in Raleigh.
Okay.
And I think this year, I saw an email. It's being moved to Winston-Salem or Greensboro. I can't remember which. But,
That's awesome. Now, I saw the other day that you're involved in the Lenoir Historical Society too. Some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and I want you to talk to us about that. But one of the things I want to encourage social studies teachers is to get involved in the local organizations, whether it's civic, whether it's because the kids need to see us. We can say all day that we want them to be involved in civic, but if they don't see us involved in those organizations, it's falling on deaf ears. So tell us about your involvement in the Historical Society.
Sure. I mean, my kids know this. My colleagues know this. I mean, history is my wife. I mean, it's a love, it's a passion, and I want to give back. I've been very fortunate and very blessed to be in the position I'm in, and our local history. Yes, you absolutely have to be involved. We have a responsibility as historians and history teachers to preserve and to teach.
Yeah.
Because if you don't preserve the history, then you can't teach it. And as far as I've been serving as president for the last couple of years for the Lenoir County Historical Association, and recently over the summer for the CSS News 2, I joined I was on their board, but then became their treasurer. And then I've been a part of the Friends of the CSS News, which supports the State Museum on Queen Street. So those are three organizations I've been involved with, and full of wonderful people on all three boards, and some people that are very passionate about history. But I would encourage every history teacher out there to, yes, get involved, because students follow our examples, and they pay attention to things that you may not realize. And if they see you out in the community, it makes it real.
Right.
When you're a part of something like that, such as Historic Harmony Hall, you have to preserve that history, and you pull them in. Like one of your students right now, Will Anderson, he's been involved in things at Historic Harmony Hall and the CSS News 2, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think it is really, it makes it real to the students.
Yes.
That it's not just this history comes alive, but it's not just this boring aspect. And it's huge, and as social studies teachers, I think we have to do that. So we'll wrap up here in just a little bit, but
Sure.
Tell us, going back to this history lab, because I'm sitting in this lab going, wow, this is kind of cool. So first, I want you to tell us your top three fun or things that you really, really dig on this history side. And then if somebody is interested in maybe starting a small history
Sure.
lab, what would they do? So I know you've gotten funds to kind of help yourself out with that, but tell us your top three, and then how would somebody start?
Well, the top three, my favorite artifact in this room is actually right over in the corner, is a 1924 National Cash Register.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's cool. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, played the teacher card, got it for $60. Eventually, I'm going to restore it. It still works, but think about it as a teacher. That's your hook when you're teaching economics.
Yeah.
That's your hook. The
Wow.
kids understand cash registers. They get that. They go to stores, but they've never seen one like that.
Right.
And that's your hook. That's one of my favorites. We have, my second favorite is the white lab coats.
Okay.
I'm working on getting a complete set, but they all have stitched on there is EB Frink History Lab.
Okay.
And so once I have a complete set of 35, and we were working in this lab, particularly working with artifacts, because there comes the museum aspect. They'll wear those coats.
Okay.
And that goes back to what we talked about, immersing them.
Right.
You have to make it real. You have to immerse into the story. And honestly, that's what makes Disney Disney.
Right. Yeah.
When you walk down Main Street USA, that's why they're so successful.
Right. Everything is I'm in this story. I'm
Exactly.
in this. Okay.
And as far as the third thing, oh gosh, it's hard to pick. But I would say those names on that the wood around the blue bulletin board.
Okay.
Actually, that's probably number one, because those names up there are students from 2 years ago that had a big part in helping making this happen.
Okay.
Will was one of them. He's up there. Brooklyn Payne's up there. David Buck's up there. I mean, there's several. Ariana's up there. I mean, there's several names up there. And those students really took this lab to another level.
Okay.
Like all the artwork that you see, they did. They did. Some of the activities that I use, that I come up with, they came up with, actually. And that was when you have the kids, because passion's infectious.
Right.
So is negativity, positivity. They're both infectious. And when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're excited, you're pumped, you're to do this, it carries over to your children.
Right.
And that's what gets them excited about it.
So, what would somebody do to get this thing started?
Sure, I would go to your administrators and we'll come up with a game plan and say, this is what's possible. History has not been, I want to be careful what I say here, but it has not been taught interactive enough.
Okay.
Interactive enough because it should be. And in order to get your students really engaged in the content, I guarantee you will see test scores go up. You will see better engagement. You'll see discipline numbers go down if you have engaging lessons, engaging activities. You just do. And I would start with stressing the need, stressing the importance. Start a collection of artifacts. Start small. Even if it's like little arrowheads, start with some worksheets from the National Archives. They have really good worksheets on primary source analysis. And above all else, what I would say what you need as requirements is, one, you've got to be passionate about it. Number two, you've got to be creative. And number three, you've got to think outside the box. Every piece of content that I teach, and it grows every year. It didn't start out like this. Every content piece, you've got to figure out, what can I create? What can we do that's going to be immersive, that's going to be interactive? For example, I haven't mentioned this to you yet, but I've got a good buddy of mine, Gary Kennedy, who's actually going to be building me a stocks.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so you see those.
Are you going to be put in there and
I
have
absolutely
them
will be.
Throw
Sure.
stuff at you? Okay, great.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll put that. I hadn't thought about that, but yes, we'll do that. Like, I'll go outside with it. We'll have it here in the lab. But think about it. When you visit Colonial Williamsburg, Busch Gardens has one.
Yeah.
I mean, so many. You just watch people. People watch. People go in there. They want to take pictures. They love it. And what I'll do once we get it built, we'll take it outside. Sure. I'll be putting there. You want to throw pies or whatever? Absolutely.
You know what? I bet you our superintendent would like to come and experience.
Absolutely.
Probably, Mr. Williams. I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you this. This kind of goes back to the point you were making about getting involved in the community. I don't have the skill set to build it. I wish I did, but I would not have that opportunity if I had not been involved in the community.
Okay.
Successful organizations, regardless if it's business, nonprofit, depend on relationships. And you have to have relationships inside the building that you're working in as a teacher, and you have to have relationships on the outside.
Right.
We're very fortunate in Kinston and the greater Lenoir County to have some amazing people. Jan Parson, the Visitor Center, Matt Young of the CSS News, Gary Kennedy of the News 2. Just amazing people that will do everything they can to help you.
All right. And so, the encouragement is to reach out to the people in your community that do want to help, that do want to get involved. And you're not alone as a history teacher.
Nope.
That there are some really cool organizations out there and some great grant money available that you just have to search for. But they're out there. So social studies teachers, if you're listening, go and find those grants, but you got to start at the idea.
Yeah.
The idea is really the catalyst to get it going, because people get behind an idea.
Absolutely. And talk to your parents, talk to people. When others see that you're enthused about something, that you're really trying to work at bringing something to life and do something creative, people will support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last thing, are there any shout outs that you want to probably just give that has helped you the most with your not only history lab, but maybe just in general your love of history?
My parents. That's I'm very blessed to have the parents I do, that gave me the love of history that I do. My brother helped support that. The administration that we have here at Frink, central office as well, they've been behind everything I've done. They've supported it from day one. Miss Pierce, when she hired me here at Frink, Miss West, who's still here, Dr. Moon, obviously, they've been very supportive since day one. Mr. Williams himself, they've come in here. Senator Jim Perry's been here. There's been a lot of support, and I'm very, very appreciative of that.
And that's awesome. And I think that is one of the biggest things that as social studies teachers, we have to make sure that we are kind of showing the passion there. Because unfortunately, we sometimes get a bad rap of, oh, you guys are just the coaches.
And that's, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because maybe this is just my opinion, but your heart needs to be in the classroom. Your heart needs to be in the classroom, not coaching.
And everybody has their bent, and that's good, and that's what it is about. But I think passionate social studies teachers will shine forth, and that's the cool thing about it. But Chadwick, thank you so much for participating with us in this edition of NCCSS Connections. This is a collective podcast for North Carolina social studies teachers. To our listeners, as your host, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who joined with us today. It's been an honor to explore the world of social studies education along such a passionate and dedicated community of educators. I want to encourage each of you to keep the conversations going. Connect with your fellow educators, continue to seek new opportunities for growth, and share your expertise with others. Remember that you are a vital part of shaping the future through the minds of your students. And of course, be sure to join us for new episodes of NCCSS Connections, where we continue an exciting journey together as we learn, grow, and collectively make a positive impact on future generations of North Carolina students. Until we meet again, remember that you are guiding minds, shaping futures, and empowering tomorrow's citizens. So do it well.